Hello everyone, and welcome to our story corner. Today, we have a wonderful tale about a very adventurous little bee. Let's get cozy and begin. Once upon a time, in a bright, sunny meadow filled to the brim with cheerful daisies and giggling butterflies, there lived a very, very busy little bee named Buzzy. Buzzy absolutely adored his life. He spent his days collecting sweet nectar, buzzing from one colorful flower to another, and telling some of the silliest jokes you've ever heard. His favorite one went like this. Why did the flower go to school? To get better. He thought he was incredibly hilarious. The flowers, however, just rolled their petals and were not quite convinced. One particularly bright and beautiful morning, Buzzy felt an extra buzz of excitement in his tiny wings. He decided to fly a little farther than he usually did, all because he was chasing the most wonderfully sweet-smelling clover he had ever sniffed in his entire life. Just one more flower, he chirped to himself, feeling brave and bold. He zoomed past tall trees, bushy shrubs, and even a grumpy-looking squirrel who was very seriously brushing his tail as if it were a toothbrush. Don't ask. It was a very strange sight. But then, oh no! After sipping from the last, most perfect clover, Buzzy finally looked up. He expected to see his familiar meadow, but it was gone. Instead, enormous trees towered all around him, casting long, spooky shadows. The sunlight, which was usually so bright and friendly, was now playing a game of hide and seek behind the thick leaves, and everything looked, well, very, very leafy and unfamiliar. I'm lost! Buzzy buzzed, his little bee heart starting to beat a little faster. He looked around frantically, his antennae twitching with worry. And what's worse, I forgot my GPS. Well, I don't actually have a GPS, but if I did, I would definitely be using it right now. He felt a wave of panic wash over him. How would he ever find his way back to his cozy hive and all his friends? Just as a tiny tear started to form in his eye, a gravelly voice squawked from above. Lost your way, little buzzer? Buzzy looked up and saw a wise-looking owl perched high on a branch. The owl was wearing a pair of tiny, leaf-shaped reading glasses, which made him look very intelligent. Yes, Mr. Owl, I am, said Buzzy, feeling a glimmer of hope. My name is Buzzy, and I can't find my way back to Sunny Meadow. Can you please help me? Said Ollie the owl, stroking his feathers thoughtfully. He peered down at Buzzy over his glasses. To get home, you must follow the path of the singing mushrooms. The what? Buzzy blinked, completely confused. Singing mushrooms? He had never heard of such a thing. That's right. Follow the mushrooms that hum show tunes, Ollie hooted with great authority. And then, just like that, he promptly fell fast asleep, mid-sentence, with a soft little snore. It was a very typical owl thing to do, but it wasn't very helpful for a lost little bee. Feeling a bit disheartened, Buzzy was about to give up when Bumpy the bunny hopped by, twitching his long pink nose. Singing mushrooms? That's the silliest thing I've ever heard, Bumpy declared, his whiskers wiggling. Mushrooms don't sing, silly bee. Everyone knows that to find your way, you follow the trail of giggling acorns. But acorns don't giggle, Buzzy mumbled, feeling more confused than ever. Mine do, Bumpy said with a proud little hop. And to prove his point, he giggled and then dropped an acorn from his paw. To Buzzy's astonishment, The acorn actually did let out a tiny chuckle as it rolled away and disappeared into the bushes. Buzzy just sighed. The forest was a much stranger place than he had ever imagined. Maybe I should just follow my nose? He wondered aloud. It was a simple idea, but it felt right. He took a deep breath, and just then, he smelled something wonderfully familiar. It was a sweet, irresistible scent of clover. It was the same scent that had led him on this crazy adventure in the first place. A surge of hope filled his little bee body. Without a second thought, he zoomed toward the scent. He darted past giant ferns, buzzed over mossy logs, and wove through the thick trees, his little wings beating as fast as they could. He followed that sweet smell with all his might, and then zoom! He burst out of the dark woods and into a bright, sunny clearing. It was Sunny Meadow. He was home! "Beloved, you're back!" cried all of his bee friends, swarming around him with buzzing wings and pure joy. They had been so worried. "I got lost," Buzzy said sheepishly, feeling a little embarrassed but incredibly relieved. "I met an owl who told me to follow singing mushrooms, and a bunny who told me to follow giggling acorns. But in the end, I just followed my nose and my love for clover." From that day on, Buzzy was a little more careful. He never flew too far from the meadow without a map, which he cleverly drew in pollen on a bag leaf. And he still tells his terrible jokes, though now, at least, he has a very happy, loving audience. And a brand new GPS he made himself out of sunbeams and dandelions. The end. What a sweet story about trusting your instincts and the comfort of home. I hope you enjoyed our adventure with Buzzy the Bee. If you loved our story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more wonderful tales. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.